Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining today's presentation of my final project for the BPERS training deck consolidations that I conducted with my current employer. My name is Kia Harris, and I look forward to presenting information today with you. Before I do get started, I would like to just make a quick announcement to thank you so much once again for joining, and to please just be patient with me as I have lost my voice a little bit today, but I am excited to share some of this information with you. All right, so as we're getting started, let me just go ahead and share a little story time with you. So what I would love to first start off is by you just closing your eyes and imagining a girl named Kate. So Kate is freshly out of college. She is 23 years old, and she has started her first consulting job with the FDA. She's excited to get started. She's excited to learn new skills and implement a lot of the skills that she's learned in her prior education. But first things first, as we all know, the main thing that you'll have to do when you start a new job is learning your position. There are so many hurdles of learning a different position, gaining new skills before you actually feel like you're the expert in that job. And so how does Kate figure out how to become an expert in her field? So she speaks with her manager, Noah, and her manager says, look, you're not going to be an expert in this position overnight, but be patient with yourself. But one thing I can tell you, and one piece of advice that I will give you, is to take your time and go on our SharePoint site and watch all of the videos you possibly can to get information on your role and responsibilities. We have plenty of information dating back the last 5 years. Some of it may be outdated, but just look through the archive folders and see what you can find that can be helpful. Of course, Kate's still excited, but naturally, she's a little anxious and has a little bit of anxiety on how to sort through this information and find what information is applicable to her. So what does she do? She goes on the SharePoint site. She looks at information in PowerPoint slides and video recordings from 5 years up until last month, and she's just overwhelmed. She can't possibly find the information that she's looking for in the time span that she would like to do so. And so she goes to management and says, Noah, there's got to be a better way to handle all of this. I know I'm not the only person with this issue. Who else can help me? And so Noah says, don't worry, we've hired a team of consultants to come in and reorganize and revamp our SharePoint site. And they've told me, there's good news. They've told me that they're going to consolidate all of the PowerPoint decks and all of the recordings and put all of the relevant information for each user group into one PowerPoint deck. And each PowerPoint deck is going to have modules that explain step by step for each module how to use that system and how these updates are relevant to your position. So guess what, Kate? You no longer have to look through 100 PowerPoint decks to find exactly what you need. You can go to module 1 that says contracts. You can go to module 2 that says grants, and it will direct you to exactly the information you need to find. Naturally, of course, Kate is excited and she can't wait until this new project is over and she can find all of the information she's looking for within the designated and desired PowerPoint decks. So ladies and gentlemen, that's exactly what our project is here to do. My name is Kia Harris, and I led this wonderful and magnificent project for the FDA along with Emily Tristini and Mahil Patel. We all came together and decided, hey, we need to have a better way of consolidating this information. We need to be advocates for the users in the FDA so they're no longer having headaches with how to use these systems. So without further notice, let's go ahead and dive in and make sure that we can share the most up-to-date information on how we went about this project. Our most valuable experiences was to once again be advocates for these clients to make sure that they have an easy way to access all documents that they're looking for in a timely manner. let's dive into it. So starting this project made me realize, of course, I need to find my niche. I need to find out what type of leader I truly am. And I did that by doing a lot of research and reading our weekly chapters within our textbook. And I found out there are many ways to be a leader. There are various formats that you can go about leading a team and becoming successful in the project that you are leading. One thing I noticed with myself is that I frequently went back to using a participative leadership style. And this basically meant that I was willing and open to open up the floor and ask any questions, even if it's difficult questions with our teammates, on how to improve this project. And not only how I felt we should lead this project, but how the teammates felt that they could be an effective leader as well and teammate within the project. So this basically meant that within our weekly discussions, I asked the members what are the best ways or what are their suggestions on how we can go about executing this project? What do they believe is not working with this project? And what do they believe is working? Another thing that I found helpful was finding my leadership classification specifically. And one of those leadership classifications was justice, which basically outlines how a leader can be fair, not only to their team, but to the project at hand, how they can be a strong leader and how they can build teamwork and leadership within their specific group. I really implemented that by making sure that everyone on my team, as said before, had a voice and felt like they could speak up with any issues that they had. If they were concerned about anything, they were comfortable with coming to me as a leader and we could adjust appropriately. I also connected very deeply with Philosophy Why. And Philosophy Why basically outlines that people do not come to their jobs miserable. That everyone doesn't come to their job not wanting to be there. And people want meaning behind what they do. And they are able to be responsible for their particular roles, outlining their responsibilities, and they are able to commit those goals in a timely manner and complete them. And we really saw that throughout the duration of the project, despite any obstacles, which I will outline later in this discussion. My leadership style allowed my team members and everyone on our team to have a sense of meaning to our project. We all went back to the vision and scope of the project, which was to advocate for the members and the workers of the FDA so that we can make their lives just a little bit easier to find the necessary information that they were seeking to become successful members of their particular projects. And keep in mind that this project didn't only pinpoint the need for new members or new employees of a team, but it also pinpointed the need for workers at the FDA who have been working there for years. So if you're working at the FDA for years, you're going to have moments where you're going to go through training sessions. And so each quarter, they may have to go through training sessions, which outline how the systems that they use are updating. And so if the systems are updating, they need to learn those new skills. And so once they're going back after the training weeks, they want to review those PowerPoints. They want to review those training decks, and they don't want to have to sift through a bunch of files. They want to easily be able to access those files. And that's how we advocated for our workers in the FDA. I was also very task oriented with this particular project. So I made sure each week everyone was on one accord and we made sure that each person knew their particular role and responsibility and the timeline which they would execute and complete those responsibilities. And I also had my own responsibilities to keep up with as well. It is all about being task oriented, making sure everyone is on one accord. And all of this, in a nutshell, made sure that our team had a sense of unity. There was no hierarchy. We were all able to speak as needed in a respectful format in our discussions, and everyone was comfortable to express their needs, their ideas, and it became a melting pot of wonderful connection, communication, and conversation. So, one huge thing that was meaningful for this project and our team was what was the climate and culture of our team. That's very important to me because I'm also a very people person. I'm people oriented. I want to make sure that everyone is comfortable on the team. So my leadership style impact had a huge impact on this team. And I wanted to make sure that I built rapport with each team member, not just by having group discussions and group meetings, by checking in on each individual person to see, if they weren't comfortable with sharing in our team discussion, they were easily able to ping me on our Teams chat. They were easily able to email me, or we could set up a one-on-one meeting, which allowed them to not feel like I was just someone overseeing their discussions or overseeing their projects or tasks, but they really felt comfortable with interacting with me. It was a casual discussion. It was a relaxed climate, and everyone was able to be open and honest. And these, keep in mind, all came from our weekly touch points that we had. And we set up 30-minute discussions with our entire team to make sure that we are all on one accord. Diversity, awareness, and inclusion. This was such a powerful and rich discussion on how we would interact and incorporate these three things with not only within our team, but showing that within our project and how we presented our information. So first of all, we had a diverse team. We had people from various backgrounds, whether they be IT and solution oriented, meaning that they were more so on how to build the systems and how to, build softwares in the system, and also people who were public health workers, people who were communication focused. So they made sure that the people using the systems were able to easily digest that information. Everyone on our team, once again, as mentioned before, was able to have input. We were diverse not only in our backgrounds, our work ethic, and whatever scope of practice we were used to, but we were all aware that we were different in different ways. And not only were we different on the team, but we noticed and took advantage of the fact with making sure we knew that our clients were also very diverse. They're also wanting to be interactive in the system and wanting to be aware of what's going on. And so we needed to make sure that we included their diversity by showing in our training decks not only words and short paragraphs, but pictures to outline exactly what the users would need to be able to easily digest the system. Some users may not be visually atoned. Some users may like to see pictures, may like to see videos to pinpoint and show arrows of how to use the system. And some users just simply need to read instructions. So we made sure that we were diverse in how we included that information for our clients. How did we handle conflict and obstacles? There were always, in any project, there are going to be some things where everything's not going as planned. Okay, so you can make a timeline. You can have an outline on what you want to do and who's going to do it, but that doesn't mean it's going to go as planned. And so, for example, some weeks we came together and some people may have been sick or they had time off of work, and so they weren't able to complete their assigned task, and that put us behind in our schedule. But I did not fear. I was calm and collected, and I said, okay, this is what we're going to do. I set up a timeline so that we had room for error. If we did not finish on the seventh week or the fifth or sixth week, we had an extra week so that we would be able to finish those tasks. And so what we did was, okay, we're not going to wait a week or two for you to come back in office. We're going to reassign these tasks to team members that are able and have additional time. And that also may have included me taking up extra time in my schedule to make sure that the tasks are completed. So I had more tasks on my hand, but I always checked in to make sure each team member, including myself, was not overwhelmed and was not burnt out. I made those accommodations, which is something I read in our weekly readings for my class, which basically showed that you have to meet your clients or your teammates in the middle. You have to accommodate their needs when they're expressing their needs or where they feel like they're lacking. You have to make sure that they feel supported and accommodated. We also noticed that when you're consolidating information in PowerPoints, there were so many PowerPoints from different years, and different workers made these PowerPoints, so there wasn't an organized way that they created the PowerPoints. Some of them use different fonts, some of them use different picture styles, some of them use different formatting, and it was kind of just all over the place. And we wanted to make sure that everything was uniform, organized, and structured. And that became an issue because, that takes more time. That takes more sifting through different PowerPoints. And then once you bring it all together, you need to make sure everything is organized. But at the end of the day, it's rewarding because you want to make sure that everything is easily attainable, easily readable, and easily digestible. Ethics, values, and social justice principles. I wanted to make sure that I really served homage to make sure that I had proper ethics for this project, that my values were intact, and I made sure that it was not what I wanted for this project, but what was best for our team and what was best for our clients in this project. I also wanted to make sure that we as a team were all aware of social justice principles, that everyone on our team had a fair chance at being an equal teammate, and that each client had a fair chance of having receivable information that, for example, there may be some people who are visually impaired, the clients who are reading these PowerPoints. You can't use red typing or red words. That may be an issue for some people to digest that information. You want to make sure that justice is served and that everyone has an equal opportunity to get fair service. My character as a leader, I wanted to make sure that we presented quality work, that I communicated with everyone in an effective manner. My disposition was relatable, that people could confront me or having any issues, and that my core values were not self-absorbed, but I made sure that everyone was on one accord and that we were all ethical in our behaviors. Okay. I also noticed that my character affected my actions. So if I was not fair, if I was not willing to listen, if I was not willing to understand my teammates as a leader and understand what my clients needed, I would not be a good and effective leader. So I showed my character by being flexible in our timelines and our time frame. If 30 minutes was not enough time for us to make our weekly touch points and discuss all of our deadlines, then we extended those meetings or we created new meetings. If we were taking too much time within our weekly meetings and my teammates needed to hop on other calls, I made sure that I was respectful of their time and ended early. I listened to their needs and I was able to effectively verbalize what they needed and presented them with what they needed. So at the end of my project, well, not only at the end, I made sure I did self-reflection throughout the course of this project each week to make sure that I was presenting my best work and I was being the best leader I possibly could. I also conducted self-reflection not only at the end of each week, but at the end of each project. I realized that some of my strengths are that I want to communicate effectively. I am a people person. I want to be able to know that each person can come to me and be comfortable because each team is only as strong as their weakest link. So I did not want anyone to be feeling like they were behind on any work or they were not understanding their responsibilities. I wanted to make sure that my strengths showed in those areas. And that was also showed in my behavior and how I communicated with each person. And I believe that presented me and allowed us to have a successful project because everyone was on one accord. Now, I'll also say where my areas of improvement could be is that not only am one of my strengths is that I am a communicator and I am a people person, but one of my weaknesses is that once again, I am a people person. And so you cannot always, everyone's not going to be happy with some results. Everyone's not going to agree on everything, but you have to do what's best for the team. So that means if we have deadlines to meet, then we need to stay firm in those deadlines and we need to readjust and reorganize as appropriate. So sometimes I found myself, especially in the beginning of the project, if I still wasn't quite confident as, in my role as a leader, I found myself second guessing or wanting to say yes to everyone. And I realized I can't say yes all the time. I want to make sure that they hear my efforts and hear that I understand them. And I want to make sure that everyone is heard. But sometimes you need to go with the greater good on what is going to be the most successful outcome for the project. And so with that being said, we also, I gave my teammates, Emily and Mahil, opportunities to give me self-reflections as well. So they filled out forms. I reviewed those forms and I noticed some of the common denominators is that they felt like initially when I was still getting adjusted to being a leader within our first week or two, some of our meetings ran a little longer because sometimes I was unsure on what questions to ask them. Sometimes they were looking for me to give them directions and I didn't always come prepared. And so sometimes we had to spend longer time brainstorming what we needed to do as opposed to having outlines for what we needed to do. So moving forward, as I took their advice, I realized, okay, we need to have a calendar and an outline or minutes for each meeting so we know what we're going to be discussing every 10 minutes. And so in my in those reflections and those forms that my teammates filled out, they discussed that after they gave me that feedback, I became more confident in my role as a leader, and we didn't take as long to figure out what we were going to discuss during those meeting times. And that was awesome feedback for me as well. I agree with my teammates. I will also agree that I wasn't fully confident in my role as a leader in the beginning, but over time, as I became comfortable talking with my teammates and knowing that we're all on one accord, I became able to be flexible. I was able to keep our meetings to 30 minutes. If we did need to extend those minutes, I asked them what their schedule was looking like. So we were able to partner together to make sure that we can schedule other meetings and make sure that we were all on one accord to complete the task and the project in a timely manner. Lessons learned. What went well is that although we have not completed the project as a whole, we have some great material and content. And overall, across the board, we have made sure that we have served justice to our clients. We have made sure that we're ethical in our work. We displayed values that were rich in basically determining, hey, we need pictures, we need PowerPoints, we need screenshots of what users need to do. If they are looking at arrows on what to click in the system so they can easily identify what they need to do next. We also have short paragraph and bullet formats so they can read that material as well. We also have training recordings so they can go back and watch videos. We also have quick reference guides so that they can see a short one pager of how to access certain information in the system without going through a 50-page PowerPoint deck. We made sure that we have given clients access to various ways of obtaining information through training resources. And I am very proud to say that we have made sure that we were advocates for our clients and are able to present such a rich and quality project to the FDA. What can be improved? I would have liked to finish this project in a shorter time frame so that we can present this information to our clients as soon as possible. But the most important thing is that we do not rush the process and we have quality information. Insights I've gained is my leadership style. I can be more flexible. I can be more communicate better and more effectively. And I'm really big on making sure that everyone is a part of the conversation. I wasn't sure quite what my leadership style was before I came into this project, but now I'm more confident in who I am. And I'm also learning that your leadership style may change from week to week or year to year or project to project. Your leadership style always is also going to depend on who your teammates are and who are you meeting with. And so you may need to be firm in other areas and more understanding in certain areas, depending on who you're speaking with. The project impacted my understanding of leadership because I was able to pull information and knowledge from readings and apply it to real life experiences. It's one thing to type papers on what you're learning and the leadership style that you think you are. It's another thing to implement that in a real world project. And I'm so excited that I was able to do that with my team. I'm so excited that, I may have thought that I was doing good in one area and communicating well in one area. And I realized my teammates didn't quite understand some of the things I was saying. So it allowed me to readjust my thought process and how I presented and how I communicated with the teammates and my clients. Overall, although this project isn't complete, we are due to complete the project in the next week. And I am excited for our clients to see the final project. I am so excited that I was able to lead this project. And I'm honored to have been able to be a part of such a diverse and impactful group of people, whether it be from their background or their ethnicity or just how they communicate and